Kevin, have you ever worked in a toxic workplace? How was that experience like, just overall?
Have I? Have I worked in a toxic work environment? I have worked in plenty. Favoritism, that's a huge one. The biggest one that I've seen is this is
Hello?
can you hear me now?
Oh, my bad. I'm so sorry.
There
I
it
couldn't
is.
hear
There
you
it is.
now.
There it is. Hey, we do want to know the great thing about all that though? It's just like we do this on the fly. We don't need no editing. This is how you guys know that this is the real deal. It's not pre-recorded. And we all have flaws and we all work our way through them, right? And it's not about how you start, baby, it's how you finish. So just a little bit about me. First of all, Indy, I appreciate you just reaching out to me and wanting me to be a part of this because we all have our testimonies. Everybody has a testimony. Everybody has a review. Everybody has something that goes on in life. And I truly believe that everybody should share that because they have no idea how well their story could resonate with somebody else. But just a little bit about me. My name is Kevin Gibson. I was active duty in the Navy for about 16 and a half years. I did 2 deployments. While I was active duty, I decided that I wanted to embark on a nursing journey. And my nursing journey took 8 years from 2012 to 2020. Within those 8 years, I had multiple ups and downs, multiple trials and tribulations. But through it all, I persevered. That's actually my word, is perseverance. I don't know if you guys can see it right there. It says perseverance, if I can get it right. But through all that, I persevered through multiple failures in my life to where I came to a crossroads of being unsuccessful at passing my nursing exam. And little did I know is that unsuccessful attempts would be the catalyst of who I am, one of many catalysts of who I am today. Through that perseverance, I took that exam 4 times and I passed it on the 4th time. And so one of the biggest things that I'll tell you with regards to that is never give up on what God has called you to do. Yeah. And so when I became a nurse, I started working as a nurse. First spot that I worked at was in a burn intensive care unit. I did that for a little bit. Worked in a medical intensive care unit, did that for a little bit. Then I worked in the post anesthesia care unit, which is essentially the room after they have surgery. And then I actually worked as a scrub nurse, circulating nurse in the operating room. At one point in time, I always said, there's something that I need to do. And there's something that God is calling me to do and I need to do it. I just didn't know exactly what it was. Then I had another trial and tribulation that happened to me. And I said to myself, this is what was meant for me to happen, or it was meant to happen to me. And once it happened, God told me to go full force. And so I jumped into it. So what I started doing is I started coaching and I started mentoring, because that was something that I missed when I was active duty, was coaching and mentoring junior sailors or junior service members, period. And so I took that into the nursing realm and I was like, man, what's the best way that I can help people? Well, one of the biggest struggles that I had was passing that exam. I focused everything into helping people pass their licensing exam so they can go out here and be nurses. And, fast forward, like I said, 4 years, here we are where I have all in of being a nursing coach, an NCLEX coach, a strategist, a content creator, digital content creator, marketer, and a full-on entrepreneur, helping nursing students become nurses.
Oh, wow. That is very powerful, brother. And I really appreciate you for sharing your story, because lately what I've been, most of the times you grow up and you don't really understand like how to tell your story. And what I've been ever since I started this journey and just listening to people like you tell their story, it makes me realize that our story is very powerful. And when you were talking, a couple of things that I did catch in your story is that perseverance. It took you 8 years to have become a nurse, to have your nursing degree. And you did mention that you had to fail the NCLEX a few times before you ended up making it. And that makes me appreciate a couple of things about you. One, your vulnerability, which is one thing that we don't really express as men these days. And 2, the fact that you accept that challenges are not there to crumble you. They're there to make you realize who you truly are and build from there and move forward. So without, spending much time on that, I just want to say once more, thank you for being on the platform. It's quite an honor to have you here. When I was sending that inbox trying to ask you to be on my platform, I was like, and hopefully you accept, because, I really want you to talk about this topic, which is managing work relationships, because you're a team builder. I do admire you and I see the work you put out there on your social media platforms, and you're just somebody that inspires a whole lot of people. They talk about you, and I want to let you know that I really appreciate you. I want to use this opportunity to apologize for the technical issues. Like Kevin was saying, we're not sure. This platform is not all about being perfect. I like to come here and just do it on the fly And we just do this thing so that we realize that we're natural human beings and we make mistakes. We're not out here to make it look pretty. We're out here to give you some real content. So that's what we're all about. So Kevin, thanks once again for being on the platform. Thanks Melvis for tuning in. I see AJ, you're dropping those fire emojis. I love it, man. Just let's
AJ is in the building. That's what I'm talking about. That's my dude.
That's the homie. Right
that is my homie. Yes, it is.
Man, so Kevin, from your experience, brother, why is it important to maintain those healthy work relationships? Why are some of the benefits of having a healthy work environment? If you don't mind sharing.
You ever heard the term, well, it's not about what you know, it's who you know? Your network of people can really tell you about who you are and what your character is. And so it's important to have those work relationships that are positive, because when you have the positivity within your workspace, everybody can benefit from it in a positive way. Everybody realizes is like, I can't do this without you. You can't do this without me. But it's a natural want for that versus it's saying like, hey, I am the director. I'm going to rule with an iron fist. That's not working together. Essentially with a democracy, that's a dictatorship. And that's not necessarily, there's different times for different types of leadership styles, as well as team building, camaraderie, so on and so forth. But it's super important because these are people that you're going to be working with, and to have animosity and any other type of craziness that's like that, all it's going to do is build up resentment. People aren't going to want to do things for you. People aren't going to want to do what they're supposed to do with regards to whatever the mission entails in order to continue to help building whatever you're trying to build. So it's really important that you keep yourself around the right-minded people with regards to like that support system, as well as when it comes to working in any type of environment.
I appreciate that. That is very powerful. A couple of things that I like to, pick your brains a little bit and just, dive into what you're talking about is that, you mentioned that your network is basically your network. Yes. And people are not going to follow you if you do not have good character.
Correct.
I'm a big proponent of character, maybe because of, the struggles that I've been through in life. But one thing that I do know is I believe that we're social beings. Sometimes when we go through challenges, people are like, oh, let me create a little bubble and be in it because I hate people. I always hear this a lot. I'm not a people person. I hate people. That is basically you postponing something that you're going to deal with in the future. We're not created to be isolated. Mm-hmm. Try isolating yourself. COVID gave us a good example of what isolation can do to us.
Right.
When COVID came, we realized how much we needed each other and things like that. And most of the times, when people start working and then they say, oh, I don't need this person. And then come to find out when you need to start progressing in your career path, at the end of the day, like, yes, it's all about competence, but most of the time it's about character, because you need someone to vouch for you. Yes, you had all these A's in school, all these things, but you need people that understand your character, because when you come to work in my space, it's all about how you interact with one another, how you interact with your coworkers, how you interact with the boss, and how you interact with the customer. So that's very powerful. A few things that I take note of is, have some of the benefits of having a healthy work environment. It just fosters collaboration that you were talking about. It improves individual productivity. You mentioned about just having that boss that just rolls with that iron fist and all that stuff. Sometimes when you have those type of leaders at your workspace, it just creates this animosity where it reduces creativity and kills talent, and people don't want to be productive.
Right.
So it boosts employee morale. So when people go to work and they feel like this is a healthy place, they want to work with each other and just help increase that. As I'm talking, please let me know if you have something that you want to add on what I'm saying.
So I had to learn that you can't do this by yourself. I went through a crazy transition back in 2020 where I finally made that decision. It was late 2020 where I finally made the decision that the military is no longer where I need to be. It has served its purpose. I no longer want to be here. But then there was a lot of things that were happening to me. I had got my license and now I wanted to work as a nurse. The Navy wouldn't give me that. Everything I applied for, they wouldn't give to me. So it was just door slamming your face, door slamming your face. I went through a divorce, which was also very hard at that point. And then you kind of fall into a depression. And just like you said, COVID showed us that we as people don't belong alone. Like we thrive off of one another. But I said this one silly thing to myself. I was just like, well, the Navy has prepared for me to be alone in the house. Like, I've been on 2 deployments. I understand this. But then when you realize at the end game, it's like, that's not what it's about. Like, as you said, we are not meant to be alone. We thrive off of one another, especially if you have great like-minded people that are around you. And so, I went through a huge like depression after I got out of the Navy, is because I felt like I was alone. And then when I felt like I was alone, I isolated myself. I didn't want to talk to nobody. I didn't want to be around anybody. Nobody could understand me. There's nothing that you could tell me. It was just all around bad until recently I realized that, we need people. We all go through our own struggles. We all go through our own trials and tribulations. The real test about that is, what are you going to do to pull yourself out of that? And, it's for some people, it could be me at 36. It could be somebody else at 45. It could be somebody at 12. Those traumas are different for everybody, and we can't compare them. So the biggest thing is, like, how do we move forward to better ourselves? Because when you understand, you better yourself, then you better your environment, then you surround yourself around better people.
Yep.
If you surround yourself around better people, that's your positive support group. And once you have that positive support group, it's just like you could take over the world at that point. Positively, of course, but you can take over the world if you want to.
Man, always dropping bombs, man. I would say that what you just said, it goes with the line of saying that great people make great teams and great cultures in the workplace. So I take it that we all have that individual responsibilities to make that work environment healthy. Before we keep on moving forward, my brother, Pastor Christian Tay, he has a question. He said, I have a question to ask. So work relationships is kind of different with the less developed countries and developed countries. But for us here, how this principle is important in this part of the world. I do agree with you, brother. Yes, I, again, born and raised in Cameroon, and I moved to the States when I was 24 years old. Most of these things that we talk about here in America does not apply to the work environment in Cameroon. Reason being, in America, the systems have already been built for the most part. The systems, the policies have already been built, and the way promotion in the workplace works here in the States is kind of different as in less developed countries. My experience in Cameroon, there was lots of bribery and corruption, and character really I'm not trying to talk down in Cameroon. Like, in the corporate sector in Cameroon, you have these big wigs that just be there and they just control everything. So the way people have to move there is a little different. So I can't really speak on that. I know my recommend, and when I talk to my fellow brothers from back home, it's like, hey, we just have to take upon ourselves as the new generation to kind of grow and learn to change that culture, because someone has to do it. Someone has to break that chain. Not saying every work environment is like that. The majority of the cases, like, people it's all about bribery and corruption. Like, this is me, I'm here. What do you have to offer? If you don't give me this, I'm not going to keep you in this position. And people, not to bring politics into it, it goes with our president. We've had the same president for about, since I was born. He's been in power for like maybe 40 something years. I don't know. But again, that's just like with that, it goes down to the ministers and all this type of thing. So I don't really, for right now, my only recommendation in less developed countries is we got to stop blaming the leaders. It will be tough. Some of us have to be the sacrificial lamb. We have to sacrifice something to change that culture in the workplace. It's not an individual effort, it's a team effort to change that mindset, because we've lived like that for centuries, and that's just what it is right now. So we all have to take it upon ourselves to understand how a workplace should be, and then we start pushing that culture so that way we can help better our workplaces. I hope I answered your question. What do you have to say on that, Gibson?
Well, I was born and raised here in the United States, so I cannot empathize with being, hopefully I use the right one besides sympathize, empathize, but I cannot empathize with being from a developed nation. But one thing I've known is universally, and what I've been learning about leadership, is that all it takes is one person to set an example to do something different in order to see change. Now, when I say that, you very well could be that individual to start it, but you may not be that one to end it. I'll give you, we'll talk about, how Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt. Right. But then Moses wasn't the one who got them to the promised land. It was Joshua that did that, right? And so that's what I'm saying. It may not be you. It may not be you to finish it, but you can very well be the catalyst to starting that process. And you may not be able to see that come to fruition for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. It could be, past generations. But the one aspect of that is when it's called to you, you do it.
Yeah.
It'll come to fruition if people believe in the positivity, if they believe in the aspect of what you have planted.
Right.
So like I said, I don't understand the aspect of being from a third world country or a developing nation. But I do know is like even talking from other individuals that are very successful around the world that have come, the leadership aspect is just like it could start with one person.
You're right. I mean, that's just the fact because, and even here in the States, man, I'm not going to lie to you. There's some places that I'm not talking about bribery and corruption, but there's some work environments that are not, healthy working environments. And what I always tell people is like, hey, man, again, it's cool to be a follower, but who's going to be the leader? And the person that stands up and be like, hey, this thing is wrong and stand on it. And that person normally, for most of the times, they say leadership is not what you do, it's what you're willing to die for. So at that point in time, you are making those sacrifices to be that person to go ahead and speak on those things that are wrong, because it's not about you, it's about the people that come after you and the environment that you end up creating. So to my brother, I would say what Kevin just said, that's what it is. I know it's hard sometimes, but then we have to stand on what our values and character is, and we chose to change that for the generation that comes after us. So again, it's very important to maintain that healthy work environment, and our goal at the end of this edition is, with Kevin's help, to provide you some of the recommendations that we have experienced and things that we do to take care of ourselves and our teammates in the workspace. So now we've talked a lot about the benefits of a healthy work environment, so I'm going to change gears here for a little bit. So now let's talk about some of the things that can make a work environment toxic. Kevin, have you ever worked in a toxic workplace? How was that experience like, just overall?
Have I? Have I worked in a toxic work environment? I have worked in plenty. And, as you grow up through whatever organization that you're a part of, it could be, corporate America, it could be military, whatever that may be, you're going to witness toxic leadership. And, I've seen everything from toxic leadership from, an LPO or, a senior NCO telling you to do one thing, but then they display the example, like they're complete hypocrites, and they display a different example just because they have the position or they have the rank. Or the aspect of belittling, making you feel lower than thou, or belittling to you the point to where you feel lower than thou, because nobody can make you feel anything. You have to be the one to be able to not reciprocate or reciprocate the response based off of what is given to you. When it comes to favoritism, that's a huge one. The biggest one that I've seen is the hypocrisy, and is where you have leaders that will project the mission to you when the mission is no longer your mission. And then when you don't adhere to their mission, that's when the railroading happens. For all my people that have been in the service, if you're not about the mission, if you're not about re-enlistment, if you're not about the cake sales, if you're not about the burger burns, you know what I'm saying? Because if you're not about the mission, what their mission entails, they're going to make things difficult for you. And so that has been my toxic work environment with regards to Navy. As a civilian, I think the biggest thing is, like, I've been working here for this long, I don't got to listen to you, or I've been working here for this long, who are you to tell me when you don't know nothing? Or, the same thing with favoritism, or, the backstabbing, the lack of accountability. Those are the things that I have noticed, and I'm not perfect. I am not perfect by any means. I don't want anybody watching this podcast thinking that I am holier than thou, because let me tell you, I am not. I've made many, many mistakes, but I definitely have learned from them. And a toxic environment is one of the biggest reasons on what pushed me towards going full-time with entrepreneurship. So those are what I've experienced.
And that could be very, very devastating. It could make, I know sometimes, people, like most people on Sunday nights, they're like, man, I got to go to work and deal with this co-worker. I got to go to work and deal with this micromanaging boss and all that stuff. So it's very, very, I do understand your frustration. And I'll go ahead and say, I appreciate the fact that you said you're not in it different, because sometimes as human beings, when we experience those things, the natural tendency is to, if you're doing this to me, I'm going to do that to you. But then it goes back to that character stuff that you were talking about. A few notes that I took for myself, and I'll just highlight, is, that lack of character that you talk about. One thing that always pisses me off is the gossip in the workplace. Like I joined, I started working. I was raised in Cameroon, didn't have a job, had my undergrads, moved to the States, and then I joined the Navy. So one, it was kind of a cultural thing for me to see adults sit and talk about other people. Maybe it's a me, I don't want to say it's a not every Cameroonian do that, but to me, the way I was raised, if I had a problem with you, I'm gonna come talk to you. I'll be like, hey, Kev, you got a second? Let's hash this thing out. So it was a shock for me to see that people would sit in the office and then they're talking about somebody else, and then that same person walks in and then they just start like, hey, what's up, man? Like, and then I'm like, yo, these people are weird. That's not how I was raised, So that lack of character, it just made me started seeing people. I'm like, man, these people are different. Like that's just. And
I experienced that, but I experienced that as a civilian. And when I experienced it as a civilian, as in, like, hey, I've been a nurse for a little bit at this point, and you don't know me from Adam. And here you are, next thing you know, you meet me one time for 30 minutes, and next thing you know, there's a synopsis, a novel that got sent to everyone in the department, talking about how I'm lazy and I'm this and I'm that. I was like, you don't even know me, and this is the first day that you ever met me. And so now, like, right off the bat, it's just like I hate you, and I don't hate people, but I dislike you very much.
Right.
You know nothing about me, nothing about my character, but then you took it upon yourself to do what you did by telling everybody about me. And then next thing you know, weeks later, they were just like, wow, I don't know why anybody ever said that you're not a good worker. And I'm just like, I wonder why that is.
Crazy. I do have a personal, not to make it very, very personal, but personal experience. One of my mission ever since I started working was that I gravitate to the weirdos. Like those guys at work, when someone shows up at work before they even show up, there's already like, oh, he sucks. I heard he did. You hear that a lot all the time. And I'm like, what makes you think we're all different? I am 37 years old, and who I am today is as a result of the things I've experienced in my life growing up and up to this point. So for you to just spend 1 second with me or 5 minutes with me and understand me as a human being, and people always like, you like that person? Dude, I barely just met him. I don't know who he is. I don't know his character. I don't know his values. I don't know how he was raised. There's a lot of things that make people act the way they act. So when we sit in a workspace and we just start talking about people and we've not even had the chance to meet these people, it is very bad. So and as a young leader, when I just started working, my goal was to connect with the weirdos. In my early days, working, it's like I had this guy before he came to my department. They were already like, oh, he's a dirtbag. He's a, excuse my he sucks. And then when I started talking to the guy, I came to realize, man, there's a lot of things that were happening from within where he just didn't trust people to talk about his story. So he just acted a certain way. He was very aware that people perceived him as something, but he also knew that nobody had spent the time to really understand who he is as a person. So from there on, he just like put up this persona, but come to realize that this guy is a very smart man. It goes with the laws of power. Like sometimes people present themselves as they're stupid or they're ignorant, but you come to realize this is some of the very smart people. So I made it upon myself to hang around the people that are weirdos, the ones that nobody want to talk to them. And then I just, for some reason, at the end of the day, I just make people realize that we cannot sit and just judge people without understanding their full story.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. Like we as humans, we always have a preconceived notion about what we think about that person. And then it doesn't make it any easier when you hear so-and-so saying like, nah, don't fool with them. You're just like, oh, let me be the judge of this person's character by what I see, right, not about what you tell me that they do. That's number one. And there's a reason why we have one mouth and we have two ears. And it's for us to do less talking and more listening. Woo. You see what I'm saying? So we do listen. I heard that yesterday and it stuck. And I'm like, you know what? This is the perfect time for me to do that. You know what I'm saying? So but it's the truth though. It's just like too many people do this, me included. I've had mentors that have roped me in and they were just like, hey, just listen. Listen. Because if you listen and you do less talking, people will tell you everything you need to know about them, even their situation, financials, whatever. And then that's how you will be able to continue to know if you want to build a relationship with somebody or to know if you want to just be like, no, I've heard enough. Well, it was nice talking to you.
Yeah. No, that's powerful. I think although it is a very individual effort to create a positive working environment, I do want to say leadership plays a lot of role, as in, leadership has a lot of impact on how that I keep saying command that organization, the culture of that organization is because, if we have leaders, and when I say leader, it doesn't mean someone with title, it means everybody, right?
Yeah.
We are responsible for how we treat our co-workers. We're responsible for how we include people and we involve everyone in the decision-making process. We just don't assume because they look a certain kind of way or they talk a certain kind of way, they don't have anything to offer. And most of the times, when we don't include everybody on the team, it just creates that weird working environment. And for the sake of time, I'm going to speed up here and so we can get this thing going. I try to keep this maybe about an hour or so because I understand it's Saturday. People need to go out there and do things. So we're going to speed up through a couple of things here. I do see a comment here in the chat. If you have any questions, man, like I said, we only going to have Kevin here maybe once in a year. So this is your moment to go ahead and pick this man's brain. I should be doing less of the talking and let him talk. And I'm going to keep doing that. So we have another comment. Say, thank you guys so much. I now understand how much better. And one request I will love is a podcast that goes a long way to build such most Africans on character development and effective principles for growth and stability. Thank you guys. It's a great job out there. Well, brother, thank you so much, Pastor Christian. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate you. I look up to you a lot. And this is how we grow on this platform. So I have taken it upon myself, to educate my people because I do understand that there's a lot of things that we need to learn as a people and as a society. And one thing I try to do is I target that group, and also I just push out the knowledge to everyone that's out there. But first of all, the reason why I started this podcast goes with how I was raised and the things I saw around me, the things that were not right. So it just made me like, we could change this thing. So thank you so much, Pastor Chris. Keep on dropping us comments if you have any. Now let's talk about building healthy work relationships. Kevin, what are some of the strategies that you have adopted, to, like, I know we've talked a lot about a healthy work environment, toxic work environment. What are some of the strategies that you have adopted in your own day-to-day routine to help build those teams? Because I know you're a team builder.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the very first things that I would recommend is less talking and more listening. And as you do less talking and more listening, when you're talking to your team members, you will hear and listen on what they have to say. And once you hear and listen what they have to say, you understand what their strengths and what their weaknesses are. And sometimes you may not hear it. So you'll put them in a position to where you think that they do well. And then over time, you're going to realize that's not where their strength is. That's where their weakness is. So now this is one of the great things that I love about evaluations and kind of like checks on learning, like, hey, are you picking up what I'm putting down? Because now I'm going to be like, hey, it seems to me like you're not really vibing with this, but you love to do this. Am I assuming that that's correct? And be like, yes, I love to do that. All right, well, let's kind of switch gears. So what a lot of people will just be like, oh, they're stupid, they're dumb, how could they not pick that up? Maybe that's just not for them. I've been fortunate and unfortunate to be put in positions to where I know where I can thrive, and then people would totally put me in something opposite to fit their gain for themselves because of whatever their mission entailed. Now, a good leader would see where their faults are and then where they do well at, and then put them in the position where they do well at, because you're going to have a happy person, you're going to have great productivity, and then you're going to have a great outcome all around. So everybody's going to be happy. Me as the leader is going to be happy. You as the team member is going to be happy because you're firing on all cylinders and doing the things that you like, which will increase productivity throughout whatever your company, wherever your unit that you're in, anything like that.
Powerful. Effective communication is what I took from that, and being honest in how we provide feedback and practice and active listening is what I heard you mention. And communication is key to everything.
Yes.
And because if you have bad communication skills, you would just not struggle at work. You're going to struggle in your personal life and your relationship with yourself, because that's one relationship that we don't really pay attention to. And that self-growth process, that self-assessment, self-correction, it's not going to take place if you don't know how to communicate. And like you said, when you're giving feedback, or when you're sitting down with co-workers, your employees, it is very important that you understand what they say and ask them those questions. This is what I get from what you're saying. Is this right? And validating what they're saying, so that way you're all in unison and agreeance to what you're trying to achieve at the end of the day. So I'm going to go ahead and because I took notes when I was getting ready for this episode. And Kevin, I do value your wisdom. And please, if you see me going off chart, just bring me back in and let me know and correct me and let me know what I'm talking about. So
I'm just listening. I'm I'm just listening. That's what I'm doing.
Smart man right there. All right. So a lot of it is all about leadership. Again, I would say leadership. And at this point in time, I'm talking about, you know, the ones with the titles, right? Most of the times when we put people in positions and it goes with that character, it goes with that competence, most of the times leaders would dictate that work climate and that work culture. And that work culture, which if people don't understand what climate is basically how the employees are feeling on the day-to-day basis. That's the climate, right? How are they doing? What do they feel about this process? What do they feel about, you know, these plans and all that stuff? But then the culture is what their values, their belief system is what they've identified as with time.
Mm-hmm.
So leaders do play a valid role in that and determine that, because they say great people need great leaders to become a great team.
Yes. Right? Something else I want to kind of piggyback on. Wow,
right.
I can't believe I said that. That's terrible. Hey, don't do that, y'all. Don't piggyback off nobody. All right, just say something else.
Yeah,
like behoove. That's kind of like my favorite word now, right? No, but how can you be a great leader if you're not a great follower? Like, how do you know what is a good leader? Like, we were in the military. Well, I think you're still in it. It's just like, for me, it's just like some people aren't ready to be leaders. They're not ready to be leaders because they emulate the leadership that they think it is based off of how they grew up, you know, throughout whatever organization that they're a part of. And in order for you to be a great leader, you have to look at all aspects of leadership, and that doesn't just come from one person. So, you know, you have the dictatorship. It truly depends on what needs to be done in your organization. It can't be ruling with an iron fist dictatorship when there's no war going on in your unit. You know, like if everybody's firing on all cylinders and everybody's loving it, why would you come in there and like you're going to have the people riot against you? You know, one of the best things about leadership, two things that I say about leadership is learning how to be a good follower, because you always hear somebody say, don't be a follower, be a leader. Well, how do you know how to be a good leader if you haven't followed anybody who's a good leader, right? And then never forgetting where you used to be, because a lot of people will be like, oh, I'm the LPO. Oh, I'm the chief. Oh, I'm the CMC. Oh, I'm the sergeant first class. Or, oh, I'm the master sergeant. Oh, I'm the person that's in charge of these units. Oh, I'm the director. I'm the manager. But they forget that they used to be that person that was down at the bottom just taking out the trash.
Right.
You know, they forget that they used to be that, you know, that worker bee that was, you know, doing patient care. They forget those things. So two things for leadership: never forget where you come from and understand what it's like to be that. In order for you to be a good leader, you have to be a good follower.
Goes in line with saying, you know, humility is key in leadership, because I personally do this a lot. Whenever I go somewhere, whenever I check in into a new unit, I understand there's like different unit cultures, different SOPs, different policies, and I always sit and observe. I do my 30, 60, 90. I'm just observing. And every time I go to the lowest ranking person, because that's how you know that that organization has a positive culture. You go to the lowest ranking person and you ask them, like, what do they understand about their job? Like a simple process. And I'm not asking to find out anything. I just want them to understand that I am okay with you teaching me something. And that's how I do a couple of things. I learn what the right ways to do things are, or two, I realize that the lowest ranking person does not even understand their job, and they don't even understand why they're there. So that tells me that they're not integrated into that institution. So then I just take note and then I go from there. So again, like you said, in order to be a great leader, you have to be a great follower, and great leaders build great teams. And one of the things I always talk about when I work with people is like, hey, I want you to understand that as a leader, you understand how to balance the mission, you understand how to balance the people and productivity. Because most of the times, most leaders come to an environment and they start juggling between the numbers. They read the mission and they just jump the mission and go to productivity without understanding that it takes people to move things. They're productive. So
they forget about the in-between.
They forget about the in-between. It's all about, okay, this is the mission. We read the mission. We just do it.
Right.
But then they don't spend time to understand, hey, you know, I see you hanging out. Who are you married to? Do you have kids? Tell me a little bit about your work, your personal life, like that work-life balance. Because when you take care of the people and their families, they come to work, they're ready to do whatever you tell them to do.
Yep.
So that's why it goes back to say some of the leaders that we have around, be it the corporate world, the military and all that stuff, determines how healthy that workplace is. And if you're not a leader, just take from us, we're recommending that be a follower, you know, in your workspace. Be humble and understand that you have to care about each other. You have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of your co-workers, and you have to take care of your boss too, because that's one thing sometimes people don't understand. They fail to take care of their leaders.
Yeah, and I could give you an example of a toxic statement that was said to me one day. I had something that happened to me when I was working, and I went to the person in the position of leadership, and I was like, I have this going on, I have this going on. I said what I needed to say, but then it was, yes, I'll help you, with whatever. But then it turned right back around is to where you didn't care about me, you cared about the mission. And so, in the exact words was, I need to do what is need to be done for what's best for the company. And so when I sat back and I was just like, so I come here every day and I do what I need to do. I ask you for this. I have these things that I have to do that are military related because you don't have a choice with that. But it's just like, so you have to do what is best for the company, but forget the fact that you have people that need help with. And so in my mind, that's one of the things I did miss about the military, especially when I did have good leaders like, hey, I have this going on. Can you help me with this? And they're just like, yeah, take what you need, keep me informed, so on and so forth. But then it was just like, okay, so you care more about the mission, you care more about the company than you care more about the people that work in your department for this company. And that was another problem, to where people care more about the mission and you care more about the organization than the people that help run the organization. You don't care about my mental health. You don't care about my physical health. All you care about is there a body in here to do work?
Yep.
This isn't Generation X. We aren't baby boomers. Like, that thought process is gone because people are hip to what has been going on the last, 50, 60 years. So it's just like, okay, so that was another revelation for me to realize that leadership like that is not conducive in order to help grow the people that are in your unit or in that organization. Then the people wonder why they leave. Why would you leave? It was so great here. I was just like, do you not remember what you said to me? Do you not remember what you said to so-and-so? And you wonder why 9 people left and now you don't have nurses or techs, or you don't understand that. And I was like, and if you don't understand that because you're so high up here, and see down here. And then when you realize, when you start tumbling down, that's because the steps are being pulled from under you. And it's because you forgot the foundation.
True.
The foundation are the people that are working for the unit or working for the company. So don't be surprised if you're not a good leader, why people would start to leave. But then, you do have those people that will leave regardless. But your leadership and your mentorship and your guidance will be the make or break of anybody that's in your unit.
Facts. And when you talked about that, all that came to mind was when you mentioned about never forgetting where you come from, because the thing that becomes the issue is that most of the times when leaders become leaders, they're so worried about going upward than understanding where they came from. That's why they forget about the people aspect. They only care about the metrics. What can I do for me to get this next promotion? And all they focus on is productivity and the mission, productivity and mission. I don't care about the people. But then you fail to understand that they always say, if you want to go fast, you go with people. If you want to go fast, you go alone. Because most of the times the leaders that end up failing in society is that they do not have that character. They were going alone because they thought it was all about me, and going up there versus taking care of the people. So that's very powerful. Something that I talk about all the time for myself as a leader, and I like to share this with most people out there. It's like, trust is accomplished when there's character and competence. And when we talk about character, we have to be the ones in the workplace to set those standards and be transparent, like you talked about. You have to set those standards. You have to be that one that always be like, hey man, I understand what you're doing, but at the end of the day, this is what we stand for. This is our values. This is what we as an organization, this is identity. I'll use my example in the Navy. What I tell my sailors when we go through some rough times, maybe bad leadership, toxic leadership, I always tell them one thing, man. What are the core values, right? And people be like, oh, no one follows that crap anymore. I say, well, you would come to think so. But the thing that would make you never have a case or never be in any kind of weird investigation is if, when it get crazy, just stick to the identity of that organization. Just go back to what are the core values. If it's honor, courage, commitment, whatever, if that's what you guys believe in, hey, stick to it and just do that on a daily basis. Yeah, that is what will help build character. Again, setting those standards and being transparent.
It's your morals and ethics. And you want to know what it is that especially with younger people, I mean, we're still considered young, but we'll say our younger generations that are like in their their early to mid 20s. It's just like, no one wants to go against the grain. I don't want so-and-so to look at me like, oh, like I'm not cool, or they don't want to do that. It's hard to do the right thing.
Why do you think we're on the Unusual Pat podcast? Because it's not like I go against the grain. It intentionally go against the grain. But if you look in society, most of us want to be cool. We want to be liked.
You want to know why? Because of this. This is one of the reasons
Right.
TV is another one of the reasons,
Mhm.
right? And it's because we allow these things to dictate what direction that we're going to go. We get advice from people that we've never seen before,
Yeah.
that we know nothing about, that are guiding us. And we're like, oh, yeah, that sounds pretty good. But what do you know about this person that's giving you advice that you found on TikTok that's, that's eating Tide Pods? What are we talking about, bro? Like, so it's just like if people go against the grain, it's because they don't know what they don't know till they know.
Facts. Self-awareness and emotional intelligence is something that helps you build character.
Right.
You got to promote connection and inclusion. You got to connect, man.
And listen, to all the audience out there, I'm not saying that I didn't go through that. Yeah. I'm just saying that I have now had the self-reflection and realization that I went through that in order for me to get to this point, to realize like, hey, I went through that. I will not go that way. I won't go forward doing that.
No, that's good. Like we talked about competence. One of the things that just came to mind is that, I'm used to like I say, I go to a new unit and then you ask leadership like, oh, where are the SOPs? And then they turn around, they be like, oh, this person was supposed to be the one to write, this lower ranking person, they suck. And then you sit with them and they just like this person, that person, that person. And I sit and I'm like, man, like this is crazy. That tells me you've been here for 2 years. And if you're assigning the employees the lowest ranking person to write those things, where's that accountability aspect of you? Where is that character to stand up and say, when you expect somebody to do something, you have to inspect. Like you cannot inspect what you don't expect.
Yeah,
that makes sense. So most of the times you have leaders that will be in an organization and then they don't tell people what to expect. They don't set the expectations, right? This goes with setting expectations and giving clear, concise guidance. Like, this is what I need from you. But they just sit and then in the end, when things are falling apart, it's like, oh, these people suck. But you as a leader, you've not set the standards, you've not set the expectations and all those things. So that is one thing.
The guidance, the example. Why would I give an E1, an E2, or an E3 the task of writing an SOP if they know nothing about what's going on?
Yep.
Like,
sounds good.
How are you going to have somebody write the SOP and you don't even know what the SOP look like?
That stuff always gets on my nerves. That stuff bro, I see that every time. Like, you check in, it's like, oh, this person checked in, he was supposed to do this, he was a dirtbag, he didn't do it. And I'm like, bro, just imagine even in the corporate world, giving the lowest ranking person the task to write a standard operating procedures that should be done at the strategic level of things. That means you understand policies of the organization, you understand how the tactics and the operations, and you put that together to write those SOPs. And that's when I'm like, okay, when your leader starts saying this person was supposed to do that, they didn't do it, and I'm like, bro, like, I'm not gonna take no guidance from you, because clearly you're gonna sit with the next person and tell them the same exact thing you said when I leave, right? It's gonna be, and that's how work environments become toxic, man. All that lack of character, lack of competent leaders. And again, not to badge on a whole lot on the leaders, we as individuals, that's why I always tell people, it's like, hey, my boss told me to do this. You have a duty to take care of yourself, take care of the guys underneath you, and take care of your leaders. And again, if my leaders that I've ever worked for are watching, they'll tell you straight up, like, my goal, I don't know if I'm not there to cause problems with my leaders, but the way I take care of you, and it goes to my love language, for me to show you that I really love you is I'll be honest with you. And that's the kind of person I am. It's not like I'm rude or anything like that. If you're wrong, I'll tell you straight up, sir, ma'am, hey, you're wrong. This is why you're wrong. And I'm not saying I know it all. If you can tell me that the way I'm processing information is wrong, you let me know and we go from there. It goes with giving feedback and being able to accept that constructive criticism. That makes sense.
Absolutely. Like, it's like you said, it's constructive criticism, not belittling.
Right.
You know, they're like, how do you not know how to do that? Well, why would you give me a task that you don't know how to do? Like, I've told leaders that before. Listen, we can talk a lot about HM1 Gibson. All right, we can talk a lot about him. All right, we can talk a lot about HM2 Gibson and HM3 Gibson.
Gotcha.
HM Gibson and HA. Listen, okay, you know, Gibson had a lot going on. All right, because Gibson he couldn't deal with a lot of the stupidity, which is probably why I was just like, you know what, I think it's time for me to go. Because when you start realizing that a lot of these leaders are putting on a facade and they really don't know what's going on, and then when you try to want to make a difference for your sailors, for your soldier, your airmen, and yourself, and then people are just like, that are higher than you, like, no, I don't want to do that, and I'm like, then why am I here? I've literally told like E9, E8s and E9s, I was just like, well, if I'm going to do it, give it all to me and let me do it. And they're just like, no, we're going to give it to another E7. And I was like, well, I don't want it then.
Yep. So I got
I don't want it.
my brother, my mentor here. He says, Major Edwin Smazi. First of all, thank you so much for tuning in, Major. He said, powerful conversation, Kevin and Mazzini. Posterity will benefit greatly from the knowledge you are spewing. So basically, all generations will benefit from this knowledge. Thank you so much, brother. Wish there were leaders like you when some of us had the reins. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, brother. I am still learning. I am a work in progress, and everybody that I gravitate towards, like you, Mr. Kevin, I believe we have this mindset where we're just learning, and every day we're not perfect, but what we do is we do some self-assessment and do some self-correction, and also learn from those around us. So that's how we grow from my understanding. We have a few more minutes here, and I'm just going to go through a few things. One of the things that may help a work environment be positive or healthy is the aspect of resiliency. Having emotional intelligence, because sometimes we become victims of our own actions. Sometimes we may not understand people. Like I would say this, for example, when I first moved to the States and I just joined the Navy, and I would sit and people come to me like, oh man, I didn't know that, people in the States didn't understand how Africa was, because I grew up watching, a lot of my things were just watching things in America and Europe and learning about the world in general. So I would sit and people come up to me, it's like, hey man, is it true that, y'all slept on trees and had, bro, did you have a t-shirt growing up? So, and I'll say this and I'll relate to why resilience is very important. Part of me was like, wait, what is going on here? Are these people for real? David will even tell you this thing, like, they'll be like, yeah, bro, we don't know these things. And then in the beginning, I used to be like, okay, wow, let me really understand where this conversation is going. So I used to play jokes like, okay, this is what happened. But some people, when you say that to them in the workplace, because I'm mature, I guess, I kind of like, I want to understand why you're asking those questions first before I just get on the emotional part. I want to be rational. So that goes with emotional intelligence and understanding that, hey, you are responsible for how you react to people. You're not going out there to teach people. They were not born and raised in Cameroon and all that stuff. So they don't need to know. They should know, but unfortunately, they don't know. So what I started doing is I started doing more of education, which sometimes I'll just sit and tell people all this crap about, like, yeah, I used to jump on trees, running around naked. I came to the States, my grandma magic broom or whatever. I'll say stuff like that if you're really not trying to learn. But if you come to me like, I want to learn, and I'll tell you stuff. So sometimes being emotionally intelligent and not being so sensitive and being resilient in the workspace may help educate people. Yes, we're ignorant. People are bad. But then when you carry yourself a different way and you do that reverse psychology and get to educate people instead of being sensitive about everything, is very important. So what do you have to say about resiliency?
So resilience will really tell you if you are able to complete anything, right? So, I mean, people that come from developing nations, are they resilient? Can they continue to take the good with the bad and able to persevere and accomplish the goals that they want, right? People here, in the United States and how propaganda is spewed when they think about Africa, it is a very unintelligent thing, but that's what happens when you have a TV right in front of your face 24/7. You have the perception to think that, oh, they're third world, oh, they're this, oh, they're that. They don't have education over there. They walk around in loincloths, like they ride on hippos, whatever, right? It's like Madagascar. I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna need for y'all to chill out, right? And so the true ignorance is where people will lack the ability to learn about other people. That's the true ignorance. So if I walk around here and I'm just like, everybody from Cameroon is just Cameroonian and I'm not about it, right? Versus how if you tell me that you're from Cameroon and I'm just like, wow, like, where is that? Okay, cool. I thought everybody in Africa did this. And you'd be like, no, that's crazy. Why would you think that? Well, I saw it on TV. And they were like, no, that's not how it is. And then me being the intelligent person that I am and non-ignorant, I'm going to be like, can you educate me? For example, I have 1 or 2 staff members or 1 or 2 employees that work with me that don't live in this country. One lives in Pakistan and the other group lives in Nigeria. And so when I started talking to the one in Pakistan and she was telling me about specific things, and I was just like, forgive my ignorance, could you please explain that to me? Because I know that, Muslim cultures are very different depending on what region that you are in. in,
Right.
versus how when people in America see a woman with a hijab, the first thing that comes to their mind is terrorist because of the propaganda that was spewed after 9/11 about people in the Muslim culture that practice Islam, right? And so it's crazy because when I went on my second deployment, the thought process in my head was, okay, we're going to go over there, we're going to see this, that, and the third. But then you realize there are people over there that are just trying to live their lives every day, just like us, versus how when you have people that went to Iraq, when everything first popped off, the things that pop into their head is when they see a woman with a hijab, that she might have something under her garments, right? Because that's what they saw and what they experienced. And so the true ignorance is the unwillingness to understand the different cultures and where people come from, and expanding your knowledge. By you being able to do that and expanding your knowledge about other people and other cultures and where they come from, and then being able to bring that in, that's what's going to make you an even better leader. I learned a lot about Australians. I learned a lot about Italians. I learned a lot about people from different countries in Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Uganda, now Cameroon, right? South Africa, right? Congo, Gambia, Guyana, like all these places, right? So it's just your true openness and trying to understand these people will make you a better leader. You can't be a good leader if you're going to put yourself in a box. You can't. Like if you're telling me, oh, I would never do that. If you tell me that you would never do something, that's telling me that you're never open to something, which tell me that you are not about growth. And if you're not about growth, you can't be a good leader. That means you're going to be self-indulged. You're going to be selfish. So you have to think outside the box and be able to pull everything that you see from outside into you, so you can be able to see how the world truly works.
That's very powerful. I think we're coming up here short of time, but I'm going to say a few things here about resiliency. Resiliency, again, it's something we all need to promote that positive working environment. And again, it just depends on the leaders to help promote that good culture. So a couple of notes I made for myself about resiliency, and to help us, approach that work environment in a positive light, is we have to be committed. We have to prepare, and we execute, and then we reflect in everything we do. That commitment is having that mindset that I'm going to work. It's going to be challenging. There's challenges that align to it, and just preparing to be committed regardless. At the end of the day, like you said in the beginning, we go through challenges, but it makes us better. Not saying we don't have to accept it when we're going through tough times, but we go through tough times. We find resources to help ourselves get back in the fight. But we also understand that at the end of the day, challenge is not there to break us, but it's there to make us learn something about ourselves that we don't already know. So the preparation aspect comes with just adopting all of our uniqueness, like I mentioned in the beginning, understanding that we're not just a physical body, we're a mind and we're a spirit, and we're preparing all those components of ourselves to go and execute whatever we're doing. We could do it at work, at home, understanding that you have to prepare your mind, your body, and your spirit to engage in whatever you're doing. The execution, we put the plan to work. We definitely get to work, and then we execute whatever we do. And then the reflection phase is when we executed what we did, how did it go through? Were there some lessons that we can learn as a team or as individuals, right? We go back and then do that self-reflection. So resiliency is key to, us having a very positive work environment. Before I keep on going, we're almost done here. Kev, I'm going to take a few seconds to read a few comments. My sister Melvis Simaze said, leadership is indeed a powerful force that shapes outcomes, cultures, and the direction of any group or organization. Effective leadership inspires, motivates, and guides others towards a common goal. It involves not just making decisions, but also fostering an environment where people feel valued, empowered, and capable of contributing their best. Good leadership can transform challenges into opportunities and can be the difference between success and failure. It's about vision, integrity, and that's very powerful. That right there.
I like that.
Thank you so much.
She was saying it's an inspiring and session, and kudos. Appreciate you, Melvis. I did just want to say one thing about resilience, and resilience, it's about trial and error. It's just like, you're going to fail. What are you going to do? Are you going to just be a failure, not do it anymore? Or are you going to pick yourself back up, learn from what your mistakes were so you can go and be better? That's the aspect of, being a worker as well as being a leader, but a leader is a worker. One thing that has always stuck out to me is, James chapter 1, verses 2 through 3. And it says, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of any kind, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance, right? And then let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking lacking anything. And that comes with being resilient. And that's what I think about. Trial and error, trial and error, trial and error. You will not do well. Okay, we're going to get better as we go. We're going to learn from our past mistakes, and then we're going to finally accomplish it. And then we're going to go on to another thing. We're going to fail, get better, boom, accomplish it, onto the next. And that's all. And that's what it's about. That's all life.
Yes,
that's
sir.
how we go through it. So
yes, sir. So I think that is key, because most of the times you go to work, have you ever worked in a work environment where as soon as you step in, people just start, I don't like this, I don't like that. And that would tell you a lot about resiliency, right? Because again, in an ideal setting, this thing should be smooth, right? But we also understand what we expect from our leaders. Sometimes they may not have it all together, and you may be that co-worker. Instead of sitting there and complaining, that may bring some positivity in the environment, and from there people around you learn. So I'm going to read a few things that I wrote down. Of course, we talked about effective communication being key, the foundation of every healthy relationship. We have to listen actively, and we have to encourage those around us to speak up when things are going good or bad. We have to speak up. Plan collaborative events. Yep. Most of the times I always tell the people I work with is that we got to find ways to have fun with work. We got to go out of work and spend some good time, drink some beer if that's what you do, chat up a little bit, and just see people out of that workspace, because you come to learn a lot about us when we interact with our families, when we see how we act around people that are not just workers or co-workers. That's how you get to really understand people extensively. We have to show appreciation. When someone does something good at work, be like, hey man, I appreciate you, man. Like, get people gifts, like promote like that aspect of thanking people in the workspace and acknowledging them when they do something good.
Nothing is better than somebody genuinely coming to tell you, especially if they're a leader, an LPO or a chief, or whoever senior lead. I keep using military analogies, but directors, if they come directly to you and they were just like, hey, I just want to let you know that you've been doing a fantastic job, and I truly appreciate you. Like, I've seen the work that you've been doing. We've seen tons of comments about you. Those are incredible things that can truly boost somebody's morale to do better within the organization. So those things are incredible.
Thanks. And we also talked about, this is just recap. You mentioned a lot of these things, but I'm just recapping so that way our audience can take some notes, or maybe add comments if they feel like they can do that. We have to be reliable and trustworthy. Trust is key in building any good relationship. Resolve conflicts constructively. Conflict resolution is very powerful in any relationship. It could be with your mom, your dad, siblings, spouse, whatever. Conflict resolution is actually a skill that we all need to learn. And I think we covered that on the episode when we talked about marriage and all that stuff. We have to foster inclusiveness. We have to understand that we're all different. And the fact that people are different, like we talked about, and you don't understand them, it doesn't mean they don't have anything to bring on the table. Once we acknowledge that we're all different and our uniqueness leads to creativity as an organization, that just helps promote like a good, healthy work environment and let people be who they are. And just bring all that they have on the table. You'll be surprised. The assumptions that we make sometimes, the stereotypes, the being judging people and stuff like that, come to realize that, hey, I thought this person was like that. But if you let them just be free and be who they are, it's going to help. That team culture is going to help productivity.
Absolutely. I agree. This is like, I remember I said this like 10 years ago, and I said, a mentor is a great leader that can make or break a mentee, right? And so it's just like, if you set the example, the biggest thing is like, people applaud the transparency and people applaud the honesty. Sometimes, they may not appreciate it then, but they will most definitely appreciate it, especially when they find it valuable. But when you're able to relate to them, you'd be like, hey, I was there, but how can I help you? That's one of the greatest things that a leader has ever told me. Like, I can start dropping names. Can I drop names? I might drop names. But I mean, like, she's still in the Navy right now, Commander Anissa Cromer, who I still talk to this day. When I met her when I was a third class and she was a JG, first thing she ever said to me was, what's going on, HM3? How can I help you? And it's been like that the entire time that I've known her. Or, Lieutenant Commander Richard Tan, he just retired. He said the same thing. He used to call me Gibby. And he was just like, hey, what can I do for you? And that's what leaders do. Senior Chief, now retired, Chris Dubois. She was just like, what do you need from me? How can I help you be better? Like, just tons and tons and tons of people and great leaders that have set that tone on my growing up, how I can bring up other people the same exact way as being a leader.
Nice.
Kudos.
Again, they always say it takes a village to raise a kid. So again, those leaders, we cannot be here without the efforts of those leaders. And we can sit here and call names, but we've been blessed to have a lot of leaders guide us to get us to where we are right now. And our role here is to continue to pay it forward. Just to conclude, building and managing work relationships takes effort, but the rewards are well worth it. By communicating effectively, showing appreciation, being reliable, resolving conflicts constructively, respected boundaries, being open in our conversations and our feedback, and fostering that inclusive environment, we can create a positive and productive work environment for ourselves and our co-workers. Kevin, brother, it's been an honor to have you on the platform. There's a moment where I just want to use this maybe 1 or 2 minutes for you to drop that bomb, just let us know, if you have anything in mind to add on what we've talked about. And before you do that, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking time out of your day. I know I only asked for an hour, but I've taken about an hour and 30 minutes, and I truly appreciate you, brother. What do you have to say? If you have anything, please, now's the moment for you to drop some wisdom,
There's a couple of things that are running through my head, but I'm a big proponent on mental health, huge. Especially, this isn't saying anything about our ladies, but especially for the fellas that are out there.
Yep.
We've been told for a very long time that men don't show emotion, men don't cry, real men work out and do blue collar stuff, real men do that. Let me tell you something. Your job doesn't dictate that you're a man. You are worthy. You are enough. You are a child of God. And first and foremost, you are a child of God. All right. And when I tell you that it is okay for you to feel the way that you feel, it is okay, but it's not okay for you to stay the way that you feel. All right. So I will tell all my fellas out there, if you want to be a good leader, you first have to look inside of yourself to see what is not working for you, and understand that if it's not working, you need to fix that. Your mental health comes before everybody else, because you are no good to anybody if you decide that you want to go up and make a permanent decision for a temporary problem. You're no good to nobody, right? So that's what I'm going to say is take care of yourself, because if you can't take care of yourself, you truly cannot take care of others.
Appreciate you, brother. That is very powerful. I would say I talk a lot about mental health on the platform, and one of the reasons that made me to start this movement is I've lost so many good people. I've seen people struggle with some stuff, and personally, I've been down some dark parts. And one thing that I always say is that I came up with this idea because I want to be at the forefront of not only curing us when we're already broken, but we want to provide some tools for us to fellowship and prevent us, because the goal is not to be broken, right? The goal is not to get there. We want to provide us with some basic tools, how you carry yourself, understanding your identity. Like when we talked about your identity is your anchor, is to understand that you are unique in your creation. Don't let nobody treat you or talk to you a certain kind of way just because of how you look and how you sound and things like that. So on this platform, we're all about promoting the things that will help us understand that, hey, we're very unique and we're very powerful in our creation, and for us to prevent us to getting in crisis. But we also encourage, when you are going through some stuff, it is okay to lean on the shoulder. We're just promoting that environment where you could come in and belong, be part of it, and understand that you have some people that provide substance where you can lean on each other. If you need to cry with me, I cry with you. That's very okay. We're about changing the whole rhetoric of men don't do this. Hey, we're humans, and these things are very natural, and it's okay for us to accept it. So thanks again a lot, Kevin, for being on the platform, and thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
And it's been my honor to have you on the platform. And check out Kev. If you're not following him, make sure you check him out on Facebook, TikTok. I tell you what, he has lots of wisdom, lots of knowledge, and just a good human being all around. To the audience, thanks a lot for tuning in on the Unusual Path podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't hesitate to subscribe on our YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram pages. It is at the Unusual Path podcast. Make sure you drop a comment. Make sure you like and provide us feedback. We want to provide you the things that we believe will help you elevate and help you accomplish all of your goals that you want to achieve. At the end of the day, if I'm growing and my people are not growing, guess what? We're not growing as a society. So we're all about pushing positive vibes and just coming together fellowshipping and strengthening each other. This marks the end of episode 2. Like you all know, episode 2 was all about relationship. We started talking about relationship with yourself, with God, relationship with your siblings, your spouse, your children, all that good stuff with your co-workers. Next couple of months, I can't say next month because for those of my military folks, no, I will be going through a chief season next. As a matter of fact, from Monday. So I'll be going through some 6 weeks of hell. So pray for me. If I'm still alive in September, I'm going to come up here and do a recap of season 2 relationships. Because what I always do is at the end of every season, I come back and we do a recap, what you like and what you didn't like, what you wanted us to talk about. We're going to do that in September. If I'm still able to do that, if I'm not, I'm sorry. I'm going to skip September, but I'll be dropping some words of encouragement, some motivation on weekly, daily basis, just to keep us fired up and keep us going. Because people that know what chief season is all about, it's not easy. So Kev, understand what I'm talking about.
I understand. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Right? I know we're kind of sitting on here and we're kind of just rambling right now, but this is very important. Is once you put on anchors, your life is going to change. And now it's going to be really going against the grain on how you can lead people. My man AD's in the building. What's up, brother? How are you? But how can you be the change that you want to be? And this is where at the chief level, especially if you're in the Navy, you guys understand what the chief level is all about. That's where it's going to begin. That's where it's going to begin.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I made chief. I got meritoriously promoted to chief, winning sailor of the year for Pacific Fleet. That's something I talk about it, not because I want to brag about it, but I just talk about it because I like to push people to believe in themselves. The guy you're seeing here sitting today is a product of so many. If I were to play a movie about my upbringing, I know we all have problems. We all have issues, challenges. I'm not trying to say I got it worse than you. Seeing where I came from to where I'm at now, if I share you my story, most people, when I was trying to get a nurse corps officer in the Navy, I did MESET boards. All the board members, the 3 times I went up, were in tears because when I started talking about my personal story, everybody was just like in tears. I tell you, I'm not gonna lie to you. My message today is if I can do these things, y'all can do it. Because I came to the States, I barely could, speak English fluently, understand things. I would wake up in boot camp, they'll be yelling at me. I'll be speaking gibberish sometimes, and then they made fun of me. I could not even express myself. I was not an extrovert. All those things. If I can get these things done, man, and I didn't do it alone. I did it with lots of people pushing me and believing in me and helping me and working and assisting me, right? So if I can do it, you can do whatever you put your mind on it. So I didn't bring the chief thing on this episode to brag about it. I just brought it, 1, to let y'all know I may not be available next month, and 2, to let you know if I can do it, you all can do it. Whatever you believe in, it starts with believing in it and having that faith to keep on pushing, knocking down those closed doors, and just keep grinding. After we're done with season 2 and we do a recap of season 2, we're going to go into some of the controversial topics of society, and that's when things are going to get spicy a little bit. So stay tuned. If this is your first time joining us, make sure you like our page, subscribe for more. I'm sorry, we don't come here to entertain. We come here to give you some of the things that you would need to keep in your toolbox. Some people go on social media to look flashy, things that look cool, they look nice and fun. I'm not the fun guy. I'm fun, but this is not the platform for it. So just stay tuned. We're going to keep giving you all the tools that you need to survive and make our societies a better place. Kev, once more, thank you so much, brother. It's been an honor to have you on the platform.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. When the time comes, if you want me to come back, I'll come back. So, hey, like I said, I appreciate it, and best of luck and everything you got going on, brother. Truly.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, fans, for tuning in. Thank you.